It's been almost a year since rain was added to iRacing, but so far the clouds have not threatened the RACEDATA AI ARL Prototype Championship. Tonight that comes to an end as the series heads to a sodden Algarve circuit for round 3 of the season. Bringing you the action over the course of our 60-minute race tonight is myself, Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Ashley Denman, with Samuli Kumo bringing you this stream on Apex Racing TV. And actually, we've been talking about the rain a little bit for the first couple of rounds. There's been absolutely no sign of it, but today, from the start of practice to the end of the race, it is guaranteed all the way, and it will be a very, very different race to what we have come accustomed to so far this championship.
Yeah, certainly will be. Thanks for having me as well, as always. It's a pleasure to be here. But yeah, the weather conditions out there, like you say, wet and wonderful. But it does raise up a different skill set for these drivers out here today. So, of course, they've got accustomed to the dry. They've been putting in their best laps and performances there. And now they can show off another skill set that is probably in their arsenal, no doubt. These guys are absolutely, you know, professionals when it comes to this kind of racing. And I'm sure it'll be on display once again for us here. But yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. It's a very sort of roller coaster sort of a circuit, as Lando Norris has described it, up and down, many undulations, and that can obviously help unsettle the car even in the dry. So with the wet weather added, just another little icing on the cake.
Definitely, it should be a really great one. This one, let's have a look at our championship standings going into this round. We have had 2 rounds so far this season, and currently in the lead of the pros are the 2 Manatee Racing drivers. It's Taroshki and Tamas. Tamas won the first race, Taroshki won the second race. He was in fantastic form at Le Mans. Stigro has been able to get close to those guys a couple of times. His teammate Simone Nusso had a bad round back at Le Mans, so he's got quite a few points to make up. So looking very good for Manatee there. In the GTP AMS at the moment in the championship, it's also looking pretty competitive. Retzi joint on points with Holborn, 1 point back then to Ramos and Crawford. Marone in there, like pretty much everyone's still got a shot. It's really, really competitive in the GTP AMS. In the LMP2 Pros, a little bit of a tricky to predict one this. Aston will be in second place in the first 2 rounds of the season. That means he's at the top because Figueroa missed race 2 of the season. Crisp had a decent race 1, but still lost a few points after winning and then won race 2. So that one's still pretty competitive. And in the LMP2 AMS at the moment, we've got Fabio Grassetto, and these AMS have been battling with the pros for the overall race win. So some very talented drivers, Grassetto leading Williams and Mercer. So all of our championships looking very tasty, actually, particularly that GTP AM top 4 drivers separated by 1 point.
Well, nothing in it then, really, is there? That's, yeah, very, very small margins indeed. And, yeah, well, as I said already, this is then going to be potentially throwing a spanner in the works for some of these drivers, potentially. So we may see some gaps opening up or maybe even decreasing unexpectedly in some aspects. But it looks as though Tamas here for Manatee Racing seems to be currently on provisional pole, and once again just showing his pure class in this amazingly talented field.
Yes, he is currently right up there. But of course, we're going to have to be talking about the Dalaras, the P217s, mixing it about with the GTPs today. You can see that we've got a lot of P2s up there in the overall standings. Now, not too many of the GTPs have put in representative lap times. I think in a few moments' time we're probably going to see some of the GTPs improve. And also the track conditions are constantly changing. And with the LMP2s going out on circuit first in this qualifying session, perhaps the conditions were better back then. But it looks really evenly matched, which of course is a little bit like we had last season. But this season, of course, the GTPs have been much quicker. But in this wet weather conditions, it is a real leveler. The GTPs are not nice to drive in these conditions. You can see right there, a 56% rain intensity right now. But it's going to be raining throughout. We're not really ever going to get a break from this rain. It's just how heavy it's going to be, which might affect how grippy the circuit is.
Yeah, exactly. It says on there as well, very wet. So, you know, you've got to be picking your braking zones very carefully, avoiding puddles as best you can. You can see there on the run down to turn 1, the sort of streams across the circuit. So for drivers, it is really going to be difficult out there. Even the as we ride on board here with Salipa, opting to go through some of these puddles, I feel like you kind of have to, in a way, to still be able to extract the best lap times. But you can definitely see that he's dancing on the ragged edge of that car's grip level as they now come down to turn 5. More rivers flowing through the circuit. Goes very deep indeed, having to put as much lock on as he can just to get the car around the corner there. And it's just the complete difference in grip. Day and night, of course, wet to dry is very obvious indeed. But yeah, this is going to be a real challenge. You can see struggling still through the double sort of right-hander there, up over the crest. Lots and lots of puddles about, Sam. It's really going to be a challenge tonight.
And we've got a lot of GTPs who haven't set lap times as well so far. I reckon only about half of the GTPs, we've got about 12 or 13 of them out here today, have yet to put in laps. We've got a few new drivers for this round. Leo Leung taking part in his first race of the season. Enric Andre, great to see him around. Legend from Apex Racing League, GT Trophy Britain or something, whatever it was called, back in like 2019 or something, and we haven't seen a whole lot of them since then. So great to see him back involved, as I think that was just Turoski or Jouret, I think, actually moving up into second place overall. So yeah, good to see a few new names, but Diogo Salipa, after that mistake, I don't think he will improve that time round. And here is Leung, one of the many GTP drivers yet to set a lap, because if you go beyond the white lines like that, you get an invalidated lap time, regardless of if you improved your time or not. Your lap point counts.
It almost feels savage in a way when that happens, because you're not gaining time, especially in these conditions. Get off the circuit, there isn't really a traditional racing line at the moment. So once you do get on the even slipperier stuff, you're just losing. You're not gaining anything. So it feels harsh, but it's within the rules, of course. So yeah, keep it within the white lines. And I'd imagine all these drivers, they've probably filled the car up with fuel and are just doing lap after lap after lap, trying to find as much grip as they possibly can to extract the biggest amount of lap time. As here comes Leung up to the line. It won't count, of course, because he did have that off just a moment ago, but starts another lap and another chance. And I think, if you do just set a lap, even if it's not the fastest in the world, good chance you're going to be towards the front of the grid. But I say that as a very much an amateur. Even the amateurs in this series, they're verging on professionals. So I'm sure a completely different skill class than I'm in.
Yeah, it's very competitive field that we've got for this season, and getting that lap in would be valuable for a few of our drivers. Tioshki's got a lap in, he's into the 42s. He's at the top of the standings, he's ahead of his teammate, but Segro is, he's 8 tenths back, but you've got to remember in these wet conditions that isn't quite as much as it normally would be, as Cabral hits the wall. Not a good time for him. He did do a lap time to Cabral, but interestingly, he's slower than all the LMP2s. Really could be a bit of friction between the LMP2s and the GTPs today, because the GTPs will start ahead of all the LMP2s, but for how long will they be ahead? Several of the LMP2s, I'm sure, will be faster. Junior Vetti, he's had some decent pace in this session so far, but he's still down in 10th at the moment, but he has got time to complete this last lap of the session. He'll be hoping that the conditions are getting better rather than worse.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, then the lap times tumble as we have literally just hit 20 minutes there. So qualifying done, but if you're on a lap, you do get to finish it. And you're highlighting the LMP2s. I just want to highlight Pala's lap time that he's put in. Also, Siegman as well. Really, they're really mixing it in and amongst the GTPs here this evening on qualifying time. Such an impressive lap by those guys, particularly. Like you say, I think this is going to be not just a different conditions race, but also you're racing different car classes. I feel like this is what we could see. It's going to be very interesting as can Tamas improve up to the line here.
Yeah, this could be good enough for pole. It is good enough for pole. 4 tenths of a second clear. Turoski crosses the line as well just behind. Was he able to improve? Doesn't look like it. Looked like a pretty good lap from Turoski. But he was actually 200 slower than his previous best. I think it was a bad first sector, which pretty much cost him any shot at pole position. But it was a very good second sector and a pretty good third sector as well. we've got a car spinning. Yep. Hopefully they get out the way. Richard Jep, who's going to be one of our last drivers across the line, and he promotes himself up. He's up to 4th place now, so good effort from him. And just got Julian Retty, who we saw across the line with a few seconds to spare. Decent second sector for Retty, not a great first sector for him. Is this enough to move him up? It is. Moves up to 7th place. He's at least ahead of all the LMP2s, which doesn't really matter because he would have started ahead of the LMP2s anyway. But yes, up to 7th place overall.
Yeah, brilliant lap time there. I will say for Richard Jep, he's in his Acura, also Diogo Salipa in his Cadillac. Top 7 drivers on the grid, 5 of them are Ferrari, so those two breaking the norm, really, you could say. So very impressive from those guys there, but clearly the Ferrari, very, very quick car. It could be quite hard to topple here in the race, potentially.
It could be very, very tricky to beat, I think. So far, the Ferraris of Tamas and Troshki have got 1-2s in the first 2 races. In fact, I think we've had all Ferrari podiums in the first 2 races of the season as well. So they are looking really, really tricky to beat for this season. I will take an opportunity to thank our sponsors for this series, RACEDATA AI, for supporting the championship this season. RACEDATA AI is a user-friendly telemetry tool which helps sim racers improve their performance. It provides clear and simple insights into driving data, making it easy to spot mistakes and areas for improvement. Get faster on the track from day one. As the sponsor of the RACEDATA AI ARL Prototype Championship, RACEDATA are proud to support the sim racing community. So if you want to get faster in sim racing, whether it be iRacing or even other simulator platforms as well, RACEDATA AI, really good platform, really intuitive way to find improvements in your driving. So do check out the link in the description below to check out RACEDATA AI's service. Let's have a look at the grid then. Norbert Tamas on pole position ahead of his teammate Balázs Turovsky. Then it's Antonino Segro and Richard Jep. Ludovic Juret is top of the GTP AMS. He's ahead of Diogo Salipa, Julian Retty and Zoltan Bedo in 8th place. Then it's Ivo Laubscher, Ethan Marone, Benoit Favre, Christian Malchurek, Paul Crawford, Cesar Cabral in 14th place. And then in the LMP2s, we have got Balint Pala at the top of the standings for that one. They're ahead of Fabian Siegman. And then it is the amateur driver doing very well of Lucas Diaz in 3rd position in that one. Then it is Michael Hafler-Darson, Simon Graf, Matthew Crisp, who won last time out, John Williams, Melvin Huygen, James Ibram, Silas Cragg-Vrolick, Fabio Grassetto, Nick Mercer, Enric Andre, Aston Wilby, Joris Ooms, and Benjamin Figueroa with an awful qualifying. Our dominant race victory back at Monza, of course. But he's got a lot of work to do today from last on the grid.
Going to be a tall mountain to climb, let's put it that way, for sure. But you know, he's clearly shown a lot of class before, so what's to say he can't come through this field? And again, the tricky conditions, we're potentially going to see a few cars struggling for the grip out there, so we may see a few offs this evening, hopefully not too many, but you can't rule it out, particularly when the weather looks like this. It's raining cats and dogs, it's chucking buckets, however you want to word it, it's wet.
It is, yeah, absolutely drenched up there. And those wipers are going to be working throughout the race. It's always something that you need to do, just a word of warning, and I definitely didn't miss this myself. Always have a button for the wipers, because iRacing doesn't necessarily turn them on automatically, depending on what your assists are. It's just something that happened to a friend of mine when they were in a race and it started raining halfway through and they couldn't see where they're going. So yeah, just a bit of advice there for the viewers.
I found that out the hard way, I can tell you that, Sam. And at Bathurst, no less.
Gosh, was that the 12 hours or another
it wasn't.
race?
No, thankfully it wasn't the 12 hours, but it was very, very intense. Let's put it that way. Trying to keep on the road when you can't see it, really. It's you kind of have to go on muscle memory at that point. But if you do enough laps of a circuit, you do build it up.
Yes, yeah, that's muscle memory and those hundreds of laps do come in very much useful for that one. On the timing tower, by the way, the black is for the GTP Pros, the green is for the GTP AMs, the red is for the LMP2 Pros, and the blue is for the LMP2 AMs, if anyone is a little bit confused. But today, they're all going to be mixed about. We are going to have some LMP2s probably finishing well inside the top 10 come the end of this race, or leave a big gap for the start of the race, but expect them to charge down a lot of these GTPs, especially if they have any incidents on lap 1. The start zone around this circuit is pretty far around. They're going to have to wait till about 100 meters before the start finish line before they can start to accelerate for Northamptonshire. He gets control of the field once the pace car comes in, and he can accelerate any time in that acceleration zone. Everyone else behind him in the GTPs have to wait for him to launch. So we'll go over the little crest, and Northamptonshire will be looking for a second race victory of the season and to retake the championship lead as well in the RACEDATA AI Prototype Championship. He still holds it. Rest of the drivers desperately wanting to get underway, and we are now launching at Algarve, and it's a good start for our pole sitter. Not a great start for his teammate though. Turoski could be very vulnerable heading into turn 1. Is he on the ideal line? It doesn't look like he is, because immediately Antonino Seagrave moves up into second position. Wasn't a brilliant start for the teammates there, and it's Tamas leading Seagrave, leading Turoski.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't also thinking about the racing line. I was thinking about the spray, looking at it, kicking up so much water as they file their way down to turn 1. Here comes Pala then leading the LMP2 class as they file their way now through turn number 1. Cars trying to find a gap in the traffic so that they can start lining up and, you know, picking off positions left and right, as that's their first car off, and that is Jep into the gravel. Not the biggest incident, luckily for him. He'll get back on the circuit and going once again.
Yeah, he was running well. Started 4th place in this event, did Richard Jep. But with that downhill braking into the hairpin, if you lock a brake, you can go very, very far. And he wasn't even too far away from hitting the wall, especially with how slippery the gravel is in these conditions. So there's an off as well for Fabio Grassetto, our leader in the Amateur Championship in the LMP2s. And he's right to the rear of the field. Wasn't his best qualifying of the season earlier on. But he lost that one very, very early on in the corner.
Yeah, again, luckily didn't touch a wall, so it was just going to hurt his pride more than anything. At least the car's in one piece. So, you know, yeah, you've dropped down to the back, but the entire field is right there in front of you because it is still lap number 1. As they now look as though the GTPs have found their way to Segres, turn 13-14, I believe we're looking at here. Hard to tell in amongst all the spray. You can just pick out the headlights. Here's the track map for you to make it a bit easier. Is Ethan Marone there going?
Goodness.
Oh, they're all going wide. I'm trying to find some grip out there. I don't think it's off the circuit, but look, they're still... Who's that off the circuit? Miles off. Coming back on now.
Well, the limit is at 20 incidents. That's certainly one of them gone for all those drivers. I think maybe one went off and they all just followed through. And of course, maybe the track's a little bit wetter as well than it was at the end of qualifying when these guys last took to the track, and it really caught out a few. And we've had lots of changes. Richard Jep trying to recover a few of those places in there, but good gains for Bader. He's up a couple of places. Crawford's up a couple of places. Lots of 1 or 2 places gains, but not really anyone charging through the field necessarily at the start of this race. And it's sort of the same as well in the LMP2s. Lucas Diaz, by the way, has just got past Michael Harper-Darson in the LMP2s for 3rd place, retaking that position that he lost into the hairpin once again, where we saw a few incidents on lap 1. And yeah, side by side between Cabral and Mountreck.
Quite right. I'm just looking up and down the timing tower that I have here, sort of the plus, the positives, the negatives for drivers next to the name. You're right, no one's really had a massive jump up in positions, which is quite, you would almost say quite rare, as I think, oh yeah, there it is, Pala off. I just saw him tumbling down the order. That's a huge incident. Let's get Samuli with the replay then. How has this come about for Pala then? Down towards turn 5, this happened earlier, we saw in lap 1. Is it just going to be too much for the tyres to handle? Oh, right off, yeah, too much. Into the gravel, and unfortunately, into the wall.
Yeah, that is a big shock for one of our favourites for this race win. And he might choose to go back out on circuit, but it would sort of be a waste of time if he did go for it. with a lot of catching up to do. So who does that put in the lead? Fabian Siegman then, now the leader of this race. Michael Haflerdarsen got back past Lucas Diaz. They've changed places a couple of times already, so Haflerdarsen is now in second place, and Diaz, the amateur driver, top of the AMS, but in third place overall in the LMP2s.
Yeah, impressive stuff there from Diaz. Very impressive indeed. As we look back here to Simon Graf as well, making their way through the final corner. Again, trying to navigate all the spray and everything, throwing it at them. There you go, you can get a real good picture now. You could barely see the car in front. You could just about manage the lights flashing on the rear of that car. But yeah, sensible. Pull out of that spray, try and then find your marker, and then hope that you can find some grip as well on an alternative line. Just about managed to do that, as we are on board here with Silas, currently 21st overall. He's actually climbed 5 positions from his starting block, so this is actually our biggest winner so far in this race, Sam. Very impressive.
Yeah, very good performance from him so far in this race. And he'll be staying very, very close to the back of Simon Graf, looking for that podium position potentially. Maybe in a couple of changes in the GTPs. Also, Hugo Prieto, I think, dropping down. I think he might, in the GTPs, he might be being overtaken now by the LMP2s, and we did mention that this would be a possibility, and here they come up to the back of a GTP. We're not going to see this too many times this season, with Prieto, the GTP, falling into the clutches of the front-running LMP2s.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first one done and out the way for Siegman. And this could be maybe a bit of a recurring theme if we have a few more struggling out there, but Hugo Prieto first to fall into the clutches of the LMP2s, unfortunately for him. But it's going to be an interesting one now, because he'll have so much more pace down the start-finish straight, you would think. So that then going into turn 1, never mind, he's gone round. Oh, that's a huge incident for Hugo Prieto. Who was that who just caught up in it? I think it was Haflerdarsen. Yes, it was. Massive incident there. He probably felt like Mark Webber in that moment. Let's have a little look at the replay. Riding on board here then with Haflerdarsen. Round turn 13. Car in front spinning. That's Prieto. And then, back into the path. And did a full flip as well for good measure. And rights itself when it gets to the gravel. That was huge. And unfortunately for Haflerdarsen, I think that's race over.
Jurets is the next one to find the kitty litter out there. But that is, absolutely huge for Haflerdarsen, and sort of his opportunity to make himself back into the championship fray, with Benjamin Figueroa, of course, further down the order today. Haflerdarsen, one of our favourites for the championship, but he has had an awful start to the season. Missed round 1, wasn't a good round 2, he was very ill, and then basically a retirement here from round 3 of the championship. Juret then with that issue, now down to 12th place, started up in 5th, now down to 12th. And Salipa's now around, and he's dropped down to 10th. It means that we have now got a big gainer. Benoit Favre up 6 places from his race start.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. Sorry, it caught me off guard there when you jumped back in. No worries, Sam. You're quite right. And more drivers sort of succumbing to the conditions. Like you say, at the moment, Benoit and Silas in the LMP2s, he's now climbed 8 positions from where he started. So these guys really benefiting from the wet track conditions out there, and seem to be thriving almost from where they've qualified. And Benoit now closing up on Beidou in front of him. So this is going to be a pro and an amateur going head-to-head. Zoltan Beidou doing a very impressive job, though they're already in 4th. And I think I mentioned it in Monza, Sam, that they are called amateurs, and it's all in the name. But what it really means, it doesn't mean they're slower, it doesn't mean they're less skilled, it just means they're less experienced.
Yeah, that's often the case. I mean, Beidou's 2.2k, but you can clearly see by his driving so far that he should be much higher than that. Some huge field spreads, though. I mean, he's 13.5 seconds off the lead. I mean, again, this happened to a friend of mine. It didn't happen to me. But they were involved in a race, and they were several seconds a lap slower than the front-running cars. And usually they're not that quick in the first place. But in the wet, it's sort of expanded by maybe double the pace difference. I think that's what we're seeing so far. The top GTPs really in a class of their own right now. Tamas, Segro, and Turoshki sprinting away. I don't think there's any new Sarah around today, which is a big shame. Hopefully we'll see him back later in the season. But yeah, those top three who were, of course, the top three, I believe, in the championship last season, or at least 1, 2, 4 last season, dominating again today. There has just been a change. Feather has got past Beidou, so I think Beidou made a mistake, and Feather is now up to 4th place overall. As what's happened to Laubscher, I think we may have just got a glimpse of it. There he is.
I'm curious what's happening to Beidou as well. He's also tumbling down the order. He's lost 2 more positions behind Retty and Jep. Jep's actually having a very impressive recovery drive here, already back up to 6th. I don't know. It's very impressive though. Whatever he's doing, it's clearly working for him. He's only lost 2 now from where he, net started. So yeah, really putting in a good performance here to gain everything back. But Beidou, I think, had a bit of a moment. He's lost a couple, but he's still there. He's still going round, so seems to be all okay for the minute. But certainly, the man benefiting the most of all is this man right here, Benoit Favre. As he's now up to 4th, and does have a little bit of a gap back to Retty behind.
Yeah, he's. I feel like Favre might be in for a bit of a boring race here. I don't think he's got the pace to match, let alone catch up to the top 3, but I think he is faster than these other guys. Maybe Jep could put up a challenge. Paul Crawford is off the circuit. Paul is a very experienced driver, very smart driver. Of course, one of the someone with a very significant role in Motorsport UK as well. So yeah, he certainly knows, got a lot of experience on the sim. One of the most experienced drivers on iRacing, and we had another off there, I think maybe Salipo who was off, and Siegman as well. Now that is our former leader in the LMP2s, isn't it? And it's now an amateur leading the LMP2s, because we lost half the Darson, we lost Siegman, and we lost Palla, and it's now opened the door for Lucas Diaz to take the lead of the race. Now I believe Siegman was still the leader here. He
was, yes.
He was, at least, yeah. And he just tapped the white line, and lost a lot of time with this.
Yeah, I saw him tumbling. I did wonder what had gone on, but the only thing, the silver lining to that incident, of course, it isn't going to be much, but he's got a full car. He's not hit anything. It's just again, once again, hurting their pride out there. But he's still in this race. He's not a million miles back, so potentially could pick something up. As that is Laubscher now into the gravel as well, so they're going to be dropping down the order just a little bit further. Currently P28th, and this is one of the GTP cars now, and they've certainly got a lot of LMP2s in front of them when you look at it like that. And Ethan Marone also having his own moment, and now down into 12th overall.
And Silas Kagrolik as well at the same corner. I don't know if they were, I don't think they were linked. I think it was just. And look, Chris is off the circuit as well. You can see Chris. It wasn't even at the same corner. But Chris, how has he hit that wall? No one has ever hit that wall.
That's
but
impressive.
Matthew Crisp has.
I'd love to see if Sumudi can get a replay of that, because I want to know.
Surely under traction, right? Like that's the only way you could possibly.
Ooh.
Oh no! So there's another one off.
Oh, there it is.
And wow. So that was Ibrahim, I think, who came across him, who hit the second time. The first time, I guess, was. I think it was Silas, was it?
I think
because
it was
Silas is his own team. Oh, it was. Well, they're teammates, so that's something.
Yeah, that's rule number 1. Don't hit your teammate normally in racing, and they've very much broken that rule. But Silas is still going round, so maybe not as much damage on his car. Lucky for him at least. But yeah, Crisp, he was just a passenger in all of it. It's a real shame, because he was once again another one of the drivers out there at the moment. Seems to be he was somewhat relishing the wet conditions. I mean, looking at the LMP2s here, still briefly, we've got Diaz leading that group, who is of course one of the amateur drivers. You've got Simon Graff, who's in second, just about 2.5 seconds behind him. But then you've got a 5-second gap back to John Williams. So for the 2 guys leading the LMP2 category, they've got quite a nice advantage over the rest of the field at the moment.
Yeah, they have got a bit of a cushion. Here's sort of the aftermath for Richard Jepp, who of course was making his way up through the order again, but he can barely turn right. And yeah, he decided that it's best to play back. This is quite incredible, the attrition rate. And there's another one. It's Hugo Prete. Well, that's not Hugo's first off. And
Oh,
no!
no!
And that's Diaz from the lead, isn't it? So it's now Graf who leads the race. And Ibram spun in the background.
Oh, this is a real challenge for the drivers out there. These guys, they're no slouches, as we keep saying, and like, you know, they've got a lot of talent, a lot of skill. Even they are struggling at the moment. It just shows how wet it is. You know, yeah, we've got the I ratings up on the screen. So the pro categories, sort of 5.5k, 6.1k respectively for each of those GTP and LMP2s, and then the amateurs, you're averaging about 3k there as well. So they're no slouches on iRacing, any of these guys out there, and they are really struggling with these conditions. And well, it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top at the end of the day, because right now everyone's struggling. Everyone is having a nightmare.
Yeah, I'd be fascinated to see what happened to Diaz there, because I imagine it was probably because of Prete. And obviously Prete did collide with Harfler Darson earlier on in the race, as we are going to get a replay. Well, I don't see a Hugo Prete in the distance. Oh no, was it Diaz?
That's a massive lock.
Oh no, he just locked up all by himself. And then Prete had already died. And Diaz... Well, it's not the first person to go straight on. At least there's a fair amount of runoff. And of course, there was no cars in front of him on that occasion either. So yeah, it's now in the LMP2s. Simon Graf, who becomes our 5th different leader in the first 15 minutes of this LMP2 race. He's now ahead of Diaz, who might retake the lead against Mercer, Andre, and this man, John Williams. He didn't have a good lap of it last time. He just lost 2 places, but at least he's doing much better than some of his rivals.
Well, he's right behind the guy in front of him, which is Andre, so he's got a position already still there up for grabs, but he has got to keep his wits about him, because Siegmund behind is very much looming large, and we saw, you know, the pace that he had. He was mixing it with the GTPs in quali, such as I'm trying to remember the other driver's name now. It escapes me, but they were... Oh, Palla, that was it. But they were both up there. So Siegmund very much got some skills and speed in the wet conditions. So it could really only be a matter of time before he gets these guys in front of him. But we'll have to wait and see, because at the moment, he has still got them in front of him, so has all the hard work to do.
Palla is back out on circuit, by the way, not that far behind these guys on track. However, he is a lap behind, as Siegmund's going to go for the normal racing line. He's got a decent amount of grip there, and he might be able to get past Williams. Williams on the inside now, on the rubbered part of the line, and that's usually where you don't want to be. And Siegmund swoops around the outside, and he is looking very confident, like he said earlier on. Really strong in qualifying earlier on. And he's back to where he started. Overall, 1 place down from... Well, no, he is further down than where he started. But he's not too far away from the race lead, incredibly, despite his setbacks. 9 seconds behind Graf, with 43 minutes to go. Let us know in chat who you think is going to win. Oysten Hereford, great to see him in chat. He's saying red flag. Well, it is very wet. I would say if this was real life, I don't think they'd be calling a red flag, but it's not that far away, safe to say.
Yeah, it wouldn't be far away, I don't think. But I mean, the other thing you'd have to remember, if it was real life, you'd probably have GT3s going around here as well, also able to sort of remove more of that water. Pretty much the whole circuit would be having a car on it, so you'd probably find that there would be more water displacement there. But either way, oh, I think that may have just been an accident there.
Yeah, it was.
Round? Yes, it was.
That's the second time he's done that, isn't it?
He's pushing the limits of that part of the circuit, because that's twice now he's hit the white line under braking, and it's just sent him round. And obviously twice now he's lost out. So all of the hard work to gain the time back, and it's just gone down the drain again. But here we go. Look, he's going to go too far to the left here, and I get it. You want to try and maximise your entry speed, but there, well, you can see the result. Clip the white line, and round you go.
Yeah, that's one of the... I guess, yeah, that's one of the corners where you can take a full turn in, and rather than braking in the middle of the circuit where sometimes it's better to. But I think generally the drivers are taking racing lines on the most part. Even through this one, you can see they're staying fairly tight, maybe a little bit wider than they normally would be. As Mercer has made a mistake, and he was in 3rd place, and he has hit the wall. Now, can he get that car into the pits? Because if he does, then he can get to the end of the race from here without having to take an extra pit stop, and that's probably what he's trying. Oh, and we've got John Williams round, one of our fastest drivers in the LMP2 Amazon. I think he's hit the wall. We've got Fabian Siegman coming into the pits. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe he feels like he's got some damage after hitting the gravel a couple of times, and maybe wants to get out of the traffic. But he's going to make his one and only pit stop. And, well, who's the other driver? We had another driver off, didn't we? Mercer. He had to continue on. He couldn't get into the pits despite his damage. Williams taking too many liberties, going too wide. He was beyond the curb, and he hits the wall. And there was Mercer, who, yeah, could not get back to the pits, and he's going to have to do a very slow lap in order to, yeah, find some salvation.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for him. Oh, another car off there into the gravel. They were lucky to avoid the leader there. That's Melvin.
Williams off as well.
Speed Racing. Has Williams gone off again? No, who's there?
Well, yeah, he's now rejoined. But yeah,
sorry.
He followed Huygen. I think, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, Huygen needed to cut the leader there, and it almost looked like Huygen was trying to overtake or un-overtake. Hamas even going off the circuit a little bit. We haven't really focused on these top 3 too much, but Seago's actually got ahead of Trotsky. Don't think we saw that, but Seago is now in 2nd place ahead of Trotsky.
It's been like that for a few laps. I thought we'd covered it, but maybe we haven't, Sam. I don't know. Yeah, you're right though. We haven't been looking too much at these guys, and it's a simple matter of fact that they're just not having any problems. They're able to command these cars in these conditions, and you know, touch wood, and I don't want to jinx anyone, but they've not had an issue so far. They've just been able to put in good lap after good lap. They've got a nice gap back to 4th place. So this top 3, although very close together, do have a nice gap back to the next car, so they can, you know, relax a little bit more in that front. So yeah, they've just been putting in some solid laps. That's all they need to do.
If anyone has any ideas in chat, or if you have an idea yourself, Ashley, whether the GTPs can get to the end of the race without taking a pit stop. It's not mandatory in this series, but they are they're not limited to fuel. So usually around this circuit they'd go about 45 minutes on a tank. In the wet conditions, maybe they could go the hour. I'm not entirely sure. This isn't exactly a high fuel consumption circuit to begin with. So I don't know if they need to make a pit stop. It might be that it's better to pit anyway, because you've got a fresh set of tyres perhaps that you can change onto. I don't know what the tyre wear is like in the wet conditions, but yeah, if anyone has an idea in chat when it comes to that. It has momentarily stopped raining, by the way. This isn't going to last long. It will be back, but there's a brief break in the clouds.
Well, we may see some lap times tumble a little bit, but it will, you know, no doubt come back up when the water starts chucking it down again. But in answer to your question, Sam, my GTP journey started very much today, so I am pretty much in the dark about everything around these cars in that sense of, you know, driving them myself. So it's hard to judge. From my LMP2 experience though, you know, tyre wear wise, when it does get wet, you know, of course you don't use as much of a tyre because of the slower speeds. Of course the slower speeds mean you don't use as much fuel. So for the GTPs that can normally do sort of 50 minutes in the dry, from my memory, I can't see why they can't go the full hour.
Well, Patrick Thompson, unfortunately, is going to contradict you now in chat. Great to have Patrick along. Hopefully you're having a good evening, Patrick. Hopefully your F4 championship earlier on went well. Saying that the GTPs end up using more fuel in the rain because of how much slower the rain tyres are in a straight line. So I'm amazed by that, Patrick, that it's to that extent. I know they are a bit slower, or maybe not. I don't know exactly the GTP, but I've certainly got experience in the Porsche Cups in the rain. I do know that the wet tyres are slower on a straight, but yeah, that's amazing that they are that much slower. So yeah, maybe it's not possible, but yeah, that's crazy how much of an effect that plays.
There's only one way to find out when you talk to me and things like this. So it's sort of, let's see what they do. If they get to the hour, fantastic. But if they don't, we'll see what sort of chaos the pit stops bring. For me, if they don't make the hour, it will be a splash and dash. I don't understand why they would pit for tyres as well. If they maybe feel like the rears have gone off because there is a lot more wheels sliding around, particularly under acceleration in the wet, maybe you can change the 2 rear tyres because you should still not lose too much time, but it depends when they pit, if they pit. It's going to be really interesting to see how it unfolds, but maybe we can get some on-track action before we see what happens sort of off the circuit in that regard, because Graf is very much under pressure from Diaz, and this is for the LMP2 lead.
Yeah, that gap is coming down that last time round. Half a second faster for Lucas Diaz, who was leading this race earlier on, remember, but he locked up his tyres heading into one of the hairpins and went straight on into the gravel, lost probably 5 to 10 seconds. And that is why Simon Graf, who is one of the very few drivers out here who we haven't seen make a mistake, I'm not going to rule out the idea that he has maybe had an off or two, maybe we just haven't caught it, but certainly we haven't seen anything for him so far. And yeah, Diaz might struggle to get past. Sometimes we see overtaking trickier in the wet. I think when it's so easy to make a mistake like here, and with the different lines he can take as well around Portimao, I don't think Graf will have too much of a defence if Diaz is much faster.
Yeah, it's hard to judge really, and we can see there on the side there, the track has come down to moderately wet, so I would imagine lap times are picking up a little bit here. I don't think you're going to get a dry line emerging. I think we're not going to see that at all this evening. As we said, it's basically rain start to finish. Here comes the move though, potentially for Diaz. He's going to have the round the outside. Hopefully he'll try and find a bit more grip, but he's gone off the circuit in, looking for it, and he's had these little half spin there as well. So move was potentially on out of turn 11, but it wasn't because he went off the circuit.
Yeah, he really pushed it hard, didn't he, through turn 11? And then didn't really give it up and tried to carry a lot of speed, or maybe he was just unable to. It's difficult to tell how much grip he had out there, but he didn't exactly seem to be eager to get back onto the circuit, and eventually hit another puddle and spun the car around. So those two had built up a nice gap behind themselves, so he remains in second place. As we've got Balázs Turovsky has overtaken Antonino Segro. I think that was a mistake from Segro coming out of the final corner, because Turovsky overtook him very quickly on corner exit, and so it was back to a Manatee Racing 1-2 with Tamas leading Turovsky.
But that's interesting actually, because when I last looked, Segro was closing up to the back of the leader, so he's just gone wide. There we go, simple as that. No grip out there. It really is, and the thing is, once you go off the circuit like that, the water, it sucks you off even further, in the sense that it will just pull the car off the circuit, particularly if you find a deep puddle. So it's almost inevitable. Once you start going off, you're probably going to go off entirely, and it's very difficult to keep it half on and then get back on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really does seem to drag the car out off the circuit there. It's also close for the GTP AM lead. Julian Retzi is barely ahead of Zoltan Beidou. These guys are now 20 seconds. They said that Favre might have a boring race. To be fair to Favre, he's very quick. He has got the fastest lap of the race, actually, does Benoit Favre, but he is still very much by himself. Like I said, I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to match the leaders, let alone catch up, and that's sort of been the case. He has been able to match, but has not been able to really close the gap. So he's 20 seconds ahead of these guys. Retzi ahead of Beidou, and actually Jouretz as well, who I feel like has had a couple of offs already, isn't too far behind, but Beidou was nearly 3 seconds faster than these drivers on that last lap. The track is getting wetter again. You can see it is starting to rain. We did have a pause for a few minutes, and the drivers were able to set their best laps of the race during those couple of minutes, but the times are starting to go back up again in these GTPs. They dropped as low as the 38s to the 39s, and they're back in the 41s to the 42s.
Wow, they dropped that quickly. That's impressive stuff, really, when you think about it, considering it is so wet. So fair play to them out there. But yeah, Favre, when we come back to him, he really is doing an impressive job. When you, like you say, when you think about it, he's up 7 positions. I think, first of all, that's impressive. And then he is matching the leader. He's doing really well, as this is Grassetto riding on board with here. I think he was looking to try and make a move. And I'm trying to think whether it was on Diaz or Andre. It's very tricky to see because they're all similar coloured as well.
I think Andre got past Grassetto, and I think Grassetto then went wide, and Silas went through as well, I believe. So bad couple of corners for Grassetto, and that's a bad corner for Craig Rollick, and he's going to let past Grassetto again. They are teammates, those two drivers for Alcantech, so not the worst thing in the world for those guys. Something happened to Favre?
I don't know.
Maybe a disconnect for Favre. Hopefully he reappears.
Yeah, he's dropping down the order. Oh, that is such a shame, because he's not done anything wrong, and he was in a very impressive position as well. But I think this, barring no incidents occur, I think this pretty much cements the top three, even though we are only at the halfway mark. So it's, I think it just sort of shows their tenacity, their skill on show, really, that they've got such a commanding lead over the rest of this field. That is. I'm not going to say it's sewn up. I can't, Sam. It's too early, but it's going to be hard to bet against them at this point to not finish the top three as they are.
Yeah, I mean they're almost going to have like a tow advantage. I mean they're going to be over a minute clear. So even if they did have a crash, they could tow back to the pits and pick up a faster fare, maybe still be ahead of these drivers. So it is looking very good for them. Retti's still ahead of Beidou, and Jouret just having to move past a bit of traffic there, which I think slowed down Zoltan Beidou. He's now only 0.4 of a second ahead of Jouret. Yeah, of course, if anyone is curious as to what's going on out on circuit, I mean, our timing tower shows you pretty well what's going on, but do check out as well the live timing link in the description below. Open that on another web page, and you can see what the lap times are for the drivers, what the gaps are, what the position gains are from their starting places. It's all very useful stuff, so do check out the live timing link in the description.
Yeah, it feels like we've had a bit of a lull here now in the middle here, literally slap bang in the middle as well. As I think a lot of these drivers, the gaps have started spreading out a little bit, and it could also maybe come down to a bit of strategy here. Like we were saying, obviously, potentially the GTPs could do the full hour. I'm not sure if they're going to. We've been contradicted in the chat, of course, as well already. But if they are able to do that, is that then maybe a strategic play that these drivers are now having to think about, and maybe some will start fuel saving? Don't quite know, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, I imagine, again, I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I imagine in the wet, it's quite easy to fuel save, right? Like, you can just lift off a bit, and then it's a case of you're that much safer for each corner. Here comes Craig Rollick. This is, remember, teammates together, so they're not going to fight each other 100%, and Grassetto has got back past Craig Rollick, so he's going to have another attempt at Andre. I think he got overtaken by Enric a few laps ago, and then he got overtaken by Craig Rollick as well, but he's going to try to get back both of those places. I think Ludovic Jouret has just made a mistake, by the way. He was in that trio at the front of the GTP arms, and he's taking a slightly unusual line onto the pit straight. Hasn't hit a wall, but he has got off the circuit through the final corner. We've seen that before, and then when he tries to rejoin, he hits the curb, and look at that car skidding along. There is so slick off track there.
I was going to say, hold your brakes. Oh dear, that was it felt touch and go there, but fair play. Again, it's pride, that one, and he's going off it again.
Retti's off as well.
Yes, struggling to stay on the circuit. Oh, that's a big crash. Off as well. Huge. That is probably going to be a tow. Let's get the replay of it. What actually happened? Julian Retti then. This is down towards turn 5. We've seen cars go off here, quite frequently so far. Late on the brake, far too late on the brakes by the looks of it. There it is. Yeah.
Some drivers have been saved by the gravel so far to stay at that corner, but where's he going? Okay, too far. I think he gave up, and he's going to tow back. Well, hopefully Julian gets back out there, because with a race with so much field spread as we've had today, he can still get a decent result out of this one. So hopefully we see him back out. And of course, if he and Favre is back, so he did have to go back to the pits, did Favre, but he then went back out on circuit. So it's a big shame for him. He was going to get a comfortable P4 in this race, and now he is a lap and a half off the lead. But he'll certainly pass a... Oh no, what's happened to Turovsky? Turovsky has had a monumental crash. You can see he's missing his front right corner, and our joint championship leader is going to have a crash at this notorious hairpin corner. He's another one who's going to lock the brakes, and with the extra speed in that GTP car, there is no stopping him, and that is a big blow for him. Now, will my hypothesis of the top three having such an advantage that they can tow back to the pits, get a faster pair, and still finish on the podium, we'll see if that comes true now.
Well, yeah, we'll put your theory to practice, won't we? That though, is we've literally just seen a carbon copy. It's twice. Both drivers trying to overtake an LMP2 down that inside. There's clearly no grip down there. There's not enough water that's been removed from that part of the circuit, and just straight on into the wall, and couldn't scrub off enough speed to get lucky and keep it out of it, unfortunately. And he's dropping further and further down. The order is Turovsky. I think that could be his race done. Is he going to join back soon? Who knows? Either way, I think
I'm making the bold prediction he's going to finish third. I'm sticking with my call. He's going to finish P3.
Well, if the timing towers are correct, he's now going to be 2 laps down. So I'm curious.
Well, the way that it works is that you get put the lap ahead. So I think he's now. Imagine that Taras is halfway around this lap. He's at the start of this lap, so he's now half a lap down. He'll probably be stationary for a bit long. And of course, he gets a free pit stop as well. I've got confidence in Turovsky.
You say
he's going to come back.
You say free pit stop, like he had the choice.
Oh, silver linings, silver linings.
Yes,
free
free
tyres. He's got new tyres, brand new bumper. I mean, he should be lucky.
Yeah, brand new car. Why not?
Yeah.
No, I know exactly what you mean, though, Sam. But it looks like we're going to have some LMP2s actually pitting here. So they're obviously not going to get the hour mark. I think we knew that already, though. So just over halfway done, and we've got the first guys pitting in now. I think that's teammates as well, Grassetto and Vrolic. Is it going to be a bit synchronised?
No tyres for
touch and go.
Not a lot of fuel. Well, that's given me a little bit of hope that they took very little fuel. And so maybe I've still got hope that maybe someone's going to do the no stop in the GTPs. It is Grassetto ahead of Vrolic, and yeah, well, I mean, I don't want to rule anyone out of the LMP2 lead. I mean, it looks a bit like Lucas Diaz is dominating, frankly, right now, with some of his rivals falling by the wayside. But yeah, don't count out these two. They've got a bit of clean air now. They've got a while to catch up.
We've still got Crap in the lead, I will say. Diaz is second. He's chasing him down, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's all the colours. I haven't. Yeah, it's these lead two though, isn't it? You are quite far ahead of the rest now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's oh, here comes Turovsky out of the pits, 10th position then. So he's going to be ahead of the LMP2s. That's kind of crucial, I think.
So he's got
a bit to go.
I mean, I'm less confident about my podium call now because according to this, he's got to make up 1 minute and 18 seconds on third place, which I think he'll make up about half of, but I don't think he'll get all the way back up. I can see a piece. I reckon P5. I'm backtracking a bit, but I think P5 for Turovsky might be possible.
Crystal ball was not so clear, was it, when you made that first one? Oh, there's a bit of cloud there. Oh, not sure. Oh, better backtrack.
I'll make my final call with 30 seconds of the race to go. That's going to be my final judgment.
That sounds like a good idea. He certainly should make up some positions, though. I mean, he's only got the GTPs in front of him, so that's good news for him in that sense. I think he's already on to the back of Leo Leong here in 9th, so this is immediately going to be a position up for grabs for Turovsky. We'll get there eventually. I do apologise for any blunders on that on the name front. Is he going to go for a different line? It looks as though he might have sent it there into turn 13. I don't think he'd had enough speed to get alongside, but definitely differing lines there. So, you're trying to find the grip all the time to extract the best laps, of course. And, this could be interesting to see what differing lines they go for.
Yeah, very, very interesting. We've seen, well, it seems like Leong's very willing to go for the karting lines, like miss the racing line and try to find the grip offline. Whereas I think our top three, Turovsky being one of them, we're sort of taking the normal racing lines, not really compromising a whole lot. They're both staying tight through this hairpin. And this is losing Turovsky a bit of time here behind Leong. He's got to get past pretty quick, and I think this will look good for him now. Of course, this is where he crashed earlier on. So I'm sure he'll leave a little bit extra margin for her to make sure he doesn't lock the brakes again. And this time he's safely through the hairpin.
I think Leong there sort of not helped him by, but just sort of realised it's not worth having the full-on fight for it. So made it a little bit easier for Balazs's chance to get by. But nonetheless, still an overtake for position. And he's now moving on up to 8th, it says on the timing tower there. So one more than it was a lap ago, because it was 9th position they were fighting for a minute ago. Either way, he's the first driver now that's been lapped in that sense. So if he can get back up to his teammate, unlap himself, that's going to be quite nice if he can do that. And I don't think his teammate's really going to put up any fight to keep him behind either. He'll want his teammate to go further, but oh dear.
K-Bar had just come into the pits, so that's why they were up into 8th and 9th place, those two drivers. And that car is not...
What?
No, it's just the gravel is like really tricky to get out of. He needs to slowly... I think he's applying the throttle too much. Yeah, he needs to be gentle on the throttle, and he might get out there. I think this is the closest that K-Bar is going to get to a home race this season. Of course, the Brazilian, so at least they have a language common when it comes to this Portimao circuit. He's found a little bit of grass here, and that might yield him a little bit more grip, but he's not going anywhere. I don't know if that's because of the damage on the front of the car, or just because it's so tricky to get out of the gravel in these conditions. That's painful to watch. Lucas Diaz, from 2nd place in the LMP2s, is in.
Yeah, I think Cabral might struggle there. It might cut your losses maybe, but yeah, you're right. Diaz in. Is this potentially a strategy though? Oh, interesting. That does for a little bit of a different.
But only 2
there.
of them. So he's Turovsky's off again.
You can see Cabral. He's still trying.
Oh, he's gonna make it.
He's gonna do it. Come on, the little car that could. He's gonna do it. Hey, there we go.
Now, safe rejoin. Oh, someone's joined him.
Oh, who's that? Who is that?
Benoit Favre, who of course had the disconnect earlier on.
He's made his way back up to 10th though, so he's got one LMP2 in front of him, and then he's on to the backs of the GTPs again, which is going to be nice in that regard. That looks like a lot of crabbing. Was it worth getting it out the gravel?
No.
I don't think it was.
Well, I hope he hasn't used his fast repair already today. I mean, he did take a pit stop, so we can only hope that he had unticked. Oh, this is very, very dangerous.
Yeah, he is just being a danger out there at the moment. I think safest thing, pull it over and get Jeff and his mechanical friends to just tow him home. It's probably the safest thing. Oh, God, right on the racing line as well. I hope there's a bit of a gap behind him where there's no one coming quickly. It does look that way, but he's going to try and nurse it home. He's going to give it his best.
He's made it most of the way, hasn't he? So he just got a few more corners to survive. Sigma might catch up to him by the time he comes into the pits. There's Grassetto and Craig Volek. So Sigma, remember, is top. Well, he's not top. He's 2nd place out of the drivers who have pitted in the LMP2s. Diaz is top of the drivers who have pitted in LMP2. It's Mercer ahead of him and Ibram and Graf as well. But Graf's quite far. K-Bar's had another off. But he's only got 2 more corners to go here.
Yeah,
Can he turn right?
But looking at the front tyres, that's Benoit and another off as well. Oh, what's this one? Oh, that probably, I'm going to guess, was a puddle that's done that. And he's then lost it into the wall down the pit straight. And this is a very tricky spot to get it round, but he's just got to hope no cars are coming. Hopefully he'll have a little map himself. Don't hit the wall. He'll get that round. He'll be fine. Battered and bruised, but there we go. Yeah, he's round. He's on his way again.
And he's back to the pits. Sabre is back to the pits. And hopefully he has a fast repair, otherwise that'll for nothing, because he'll need 20 minutes of repairs. We'll see.
We'll see if he comes back out. I think that's the biggest tell, obviously.
Yeah.
Does he come onto the circuit, yes or no? Oh, okay, we find out. Yeah, either way, like you say, if he didn't have that fast repair, it does very much feel like it was for nothing. And, also putting, himself and other drivers at risk, which is not the best thing in the world. But lucky either way. What has happened there?
I think Siegmund's had an off. Oh, it's the same corner. No, that's no. Tufe hasn't made that mistake before. Oh, Fabian. I mean, a lot of drivers are going to be thinking in this LMP2 feel that they could have won tonight. I think he's lost it twice at the corner afterwards, though, hasn't he? He's been the one who's hitting the white line on corner entry.
Yes, it is, but it's the same corner that everyone has been having that big off at.
Yeah.
It's,
We should have used the other hairpin in hindsight. We should have used the MotoGP hairpin. Just give them a because at least with the MotoGP one, you're braking before you start going downhill. I think with that hairpin, it's the awkward range where you're not doing any braking before you go over the crest. And so once you lock up after the crest, gravity is counteracting any limited grip that any limited brake that you're applying.
You're right. The one counter argument I have to that is if you go for the braking whilst going over the crest, suddenly the car goes light and you're trying to slow the wheels down, you're more prone to locking. So I'd actually argue it's best the way we have it.
Maroon's had an off, by the way. You can see the position number highlights red whenever someone's had an off, and he's still in 6th place though overall. No, he's not. He's been overtaken by Ludovic Juret now, and actually he's gone back to the pits. Do we reckon it's this? No, it's a turn 1 crash. Well, we saw Cabral have a turn 1 crash in qualifying, but this is a bit of a rarity.
Certainly is. Here we go. We can see what exactly happened. Off the racing line, going to try and find some grip down to turn 1, maybe get out of the spray as well. Just completely go straight.
I think he hit the pit lane exit line. I think that caused his front right to lock.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed, we've got a new LMP2 leader in James Ibram, leading now for LMP2. So
yes, Graf came into the pits, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, he's still running around there in second in that class. You've got Nick Mercer now in between Graf and Diaz. So it's more just a matter of who is pitted, who hasn't. But yeah, Ibram, Mercer, Hugen have not pitted. But looking down the order, most of the LMP2s have now pitted. So shouldn't be too many more, ebbs and flows in that, providing no offs. But either way, James Ibram, he's there on merit. He is leading this race. He just hasn't pitted yet. Or leading the LMP2s at least.
Yeah, and if he's going to go for the hero strategy and not pit, then this is a legitimate strategy. I think, though, in the LMP2s with their limited tank size, they are going to have to pit. But very few of the GTPs, I don't think we've seen any scheduled GTP pit stops. We've seen a lot of drivers crash and have to take repairs. But I don't think we've seen anyone deliberately come into the pits yet in the GTPs. I think the zero stop is on. Let us know in chat if you believe us idiots or you believe Patrick Thompson, who's actually a very good driver. Yeah, put your money down and see who's correct on this one. Because we thought it was possible. Patrick said no. He actually knows what he's talking about. He's probably right. But with 13 minutes to go, I've got a bit of hope that a few of the drivers are going to try it.
We can hope and see. I mean, yeah, like you say, it is a bit of a hero strategy as just trying to fix the audio here. So apologies for the small delay in the stream itself. No, you're not going crazy. The game audio is having a bit of a mare. We are trying to rectify that now. So apologies for all of this. We will, of course, get back to the regular stream very shortly indeed. Short as possible, we hope.
You can sort of predict what's going on track, can't you? I mean, drivers are spinning. We're cutting to various corners, and there's at least 2 cars in the gravel at any one time. So I don't think you're missing out on a whole lot as it stands. I will take this opportunity, actually, as Michael Harper-Delson comes out of the pits or something after his 3rd pit stop in this race, to once again thank our sponsor for this season. RACEDATA AI, which of course is a user-friendly telemetry tool which is helping sim racers improve their performance. providing clear and simple insights into driving data, making it easier to spot mistakes and areas for improvement and get faster on the track from day one. Thanks to RACEDATA for sponsoring the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship and supporting the sim racing community. And check out their link in the description below if you want to try a slightly different driver tuition tool. There's lots of driver tuition places out there, but yeah, RACEDATA AI really looking at a data-driven way to really identify through telemetry how to improve your driving. So do check out the link in the description below. We're watching Cyrus Craig-Frolic, so very close to his teammate Fabio Grassetti. These two have been glued for a long, long time. Yeah,
they certainly have. They've been bumper to bumper pretty much the entire way, haven't they? It's impressive when you think about it like that as well, when we've seen the rest of the field struggling for grip, struggling for, finding pace, and yet these two somehow have been able to, pretty much manage both of that and stay bumper to bumper at the same time. That's impressive on its own, I think, in this race and the conditions we have. Has the rain stopped again? That's what I want to know. I can't see many drops about.
I'm seeing
there
some
a few?
drops.
Oh, there is.
64%.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Just me.
Very wet now. But I'm going to call that Patrick Thompson I'm going to say it, Patrick Thompson's not a very smart man. Because we just had a 6-second pit stop for Christian Malchirek, which is very short. So Malchirek having a short pit stop there to get to the end of the race, which very much confirms that if you can save 6 seconds worth of fuel, then you can get to the end of the race with no pit stop. So I'm sure a couple more drivers will come into the pits, but I reckon Tamas and Seiko are not going to come into the pits. And the zero stop, which I don't think has ever been done by anyone in the Apex Racing League Prototype Championship in the past. In fact, I can't really remember any... Oh, spin for... That's Ethan Marone, and he's lost a... Well, he's not lost a proper place, he's lost a place to an LMP2, but that was a 360 for Marone. But yeah, I don't think anyone in ARL has ever done no stops in a race where you're meant to do a pit stop. But they're going to do it, and hopefully the drivers know the rules. There's no mandatory pit stop, nowhere in the rules that say you must make a pit stop. So they are free to do a no stop if they wish.
Here comes the pirouette again. We saw it in the background. We're going to ride on board with it for this time. Wins the rip. There it goes. Whee! Round we go. And facing the right way. He's doing his best Keke Rosberg, if you know what I'm talking about there. And away he goes like nothing. It's amazing. Yeah, you could.
He lost 3 seconds there.
I don't think he even lost that. Well,
yeah, some nice style from Ethan Marone. You still have his teammate Paul Crawford. You can see those guys continue battling on. The DCW drivers are all very close to one another most races. Yeah, there's no difference today. Once again, close to one another. Marone just trying to get past Andre. This isn't a GTP lapping an LMP2, this is a GTP trying to overtake. I'm surprised the LMP2s haven't actually been more competitive in comparison to the GTPs in this race. The lap times are seemingly getting slower and slower out there, and I think the LMP2s are coming more into it, but maybe the track isn't quite as wet in the race as it was in qualifying, and I think that's helped the GTPs establish a few seconds a lap faster than the LMP2s. As James Ibrahim comes into the pits, he was the last LMP2 yet to make a pit stop, and that means that Simon Graf is leading the way again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm quite surprised about that too, but like you say, I think the weather has sort of...
oh no!
No!
And he's going to hit the wall! Diaz leads again, Lucas Diaz leads. Simon Graf, the one driver in the LMP2s who hadn't gone off, has now gone off.
That wheel is absolutely buckled like crazy. Yeah, there was no way you were getting that back round. Oh no! We were just literally commending him. He just retook the lead. He just lost it again as well at the same time. But that does then, like you say, it promotes Lucas Diaz back up into the lead of the LMP2. So we still have an amateur driver leading the second category.
Well, they were threatening to do it back at Le Mans, with Grassetto doing very well and Williams doing very well, but they sort of fell by the wayside, did the AMS, with the fuel strategy that came into play. But Diaz has not put a foot wrong. He leads by 11 seconds ahead of Fabio Grassetto and Cyrus Craig-Frolic. Ethan Marone has hit the familiar wall at the end of the back straight. and
think
he's
that's
not
turn
getting that
5
back
again,
to
isn't
pits.
it? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn 5, Tory Vip. It has been. I've got it on my notes here. Braking becomes vital for this corner, and it's it's very much shown that the entire evening so far. And it's the same situation again, trying to get past an LMP2 off the racing line, because it seems to be that is the favourable place to brake on the racing line. Almost contradicts the wet weather racing, but anyway. And again, not enough grip there, straight into the wall.
Diogo Salipa has come into the pits. He's not a hero. He has not got enough fuel to get to the end, but this will be a very short pit stop, stationing for a few seconds, and he's stationing a bit longer than I thought, actually. I thought this was going to be a 6-second pit stop. I'm scared. I hope he hasn't got a penalty. What's going on? Why is this such a lot? He's not even taking tyres. You don't need... I mean, we've only got 6 minutes to go. You don't need this much fuel. What's happening?
Where's the hour gone? 6 minutes left, my word.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
I think he's
flown
sped.
by.
If he's stationing for 46 seconds, then that means that he's sped on pit entry. Or cut the pit entry line.
Yeah, he's still there now.
And
He's still in the pit lane, but
seconds.
yeah, either way, Zoltan Bedo here, third on the road.
Yeah. 46 seconds. 45.92 seconds. He sped on pit entry.
Yeah.
40-second penalty.
Nicely cleared up there as Ludovic Duret. Trying to get it back onto the track, but having a nice pirouette himself. What corner is that? That looks to me like turn 8, just as you go over the rise. Now you drop it all the way back down, and this is that sort of roller coaster effect I was talking about right at the beginning. It's so undulated around here. But you know, that adds another challenge to the circuit. Like I said, the wet weather on top of that. So hard to find grip out there, even in the dry around here, and these guys doing it in the wet for nearly an hour now is mighty impressive, and doing it at pace, of course, as well.
Will Norbert Tamas need to dive into the pits? No, he continues on. We've got 4.5 minutes to go. Only a few more laps for Norbert Tamas. Thanks to everyone who's subscribed to the channel, by the way. We've had a few people who have. Robin Marai has subscribed, and Matt Carter as well, and Urban as well. So thank you for subscribing. We recently got up to 17,000 subscribers on Apex Racing TV. So hopefully we can reach the next significant milestone. Of course, the big 17 is a massive thing for any YouTube channel. So thank you for that one, and hopefully we can get to 18 nice and quickly. And yeah, Tamas 22. So he sort of pulled away a bit from Seago. Seago kept up in the early stages, but since then hasn't been able to keep tabs.
No, he has just sort of pulled away. I think ever since Chirozzi had that moment, it's sort of the gap really continued opening up. And I think maybe for Seagro as well, it meant that there was no pressure from behind for him. So he felt like he could just back off, and he's probably quite happy picking up second here this evening, because it's, you know, the conditions in the way that they are. You could easily bin it. Even now, you've probably got about 3 laps left. You still can't guarantee you're going to see that checker flag without having a single moment, because it is so treacherous. You can see here as we ride on board with Tamas just how wet it is. There's puddles galore around the circuit. If you come up to a lapped car, for Norbert here, you know, you've got the spray to deal with. If you have to lap a car, you're going offline from where you'd like. It's constantly a bombardment of sort of danger of losing the car.
Yeah, if I were one of these drivers, I'd be braking for turn 4 very, very early. Junior Retti's had another off. This race has really fallen apart late on for... Well, no, so because he had to disconnect, didn't he, Retti, I think, earlier on. That's why he's quite so far down, and he's off the circuit again. By the way, Benjamin Figueroa has come into the pits as well for a short pit stop, or maybe a second pit stop. Yeah, a second pit stop for Figueroa. Maybe he didn't put enough fuel in the car, although he's stationing for a suspiciously long amount of time. Richard Jep versus Leo Leong. This is for position, and Jep has got past. So Jep, who's had a couple of issues, he's one of the several drivers who'll be thinking could have finished in 4th place today, but he's got back that one. And Diogo Salipa is only just ahead of Salipa. Salipa made the pit stop. Salipa took 6 seconds worth of fuel, obviously, but got a 40-second hold, which is a very good argument for why you should just save the fuel and not pit at all, because it saves you any risk of that. So that's the most costly splash and dash I think anyone's ever taken, and it might lose him a place to Jep, because Jep's now only 3 seconds behind with 2 laps to go.
Yeah, I mean, he'll look back at that one with frustration, I can imagine, as Leo Leong unable to go the full distance on the one tank, so now comes into the pit. We'll see if it is a splash and dash or maybe something a little bit extra. So as it stands at the moment, it is only the top 4 that have not had to come in for that splash and dash, and with 1 minute left on the clock, we'll find out very, very shortly if they have been able to go the entire distance without a single pit stop. And like Sam said earlier, it's going to be the first time in the competition's history, is it not?
Yes, it will be. And first time ever that Patrick Thompson is incorrect on something. So really good to see that one, a day of firsts, and I hope I won't let him forget it either. He's literally got no opinions now that I'll ever listen to, because Noah Tamas will not pit. He's on his last lap. They've got a bit of a battle in front of him. I think is that Wilby and Hafler Darson. Hafler Darson has been begging for the wet weather for a while, and maybe would have won today. It's difficult to tell, but he got wiped out in the early stage by Hugo Prieto. Oh, Norbert. Wow, well, he nearly got wiped out by Norbert Tamas as well there. Who didn't really want to pick up a 30-second penalty and lose the race win. I think Norbert might not even try to overtake these LMP2s now. I might just follow them home, because that's pretty much as close as we've seen to him making a mistake all day.
But he doesn't have to get past them. They're going quick enough to match pretty much the GCP's pace, maybe a couple of seconds off here or there. And he's got 25 back to Seagrove, so there's zero pressure for him. It's obviously going to tumble down a bit now. But either way, the hour is up, so it's all going to be about when Tamas crosses that line now and finish this race off for us. Only a few corners left to go. I mean, he really has put on a masterclass, apart from that small moment we saw there, and I think that sort of scared him into sitting behind now. He's been dominant once again. It's really impressive, even in these conditions.
Yeah, has led from start to finish. It's going to be his second race victory from 3 races, and will give him a big lead in the championship as well. And in the first ever wet race in the RACEDATA AI Apex Racing League Prototype Championship, Norbert Tamas has shown the field how it's done. He wins. It will be Segro who will finish a distant second place, but more good points for him. That's 3 top 4s in a row for Segro. It will promote him up into second place in the championship. Our next class leader might be Lucas Diaz, who is going to score a stunning victory in the LMP2 field. Here he comes as an amateur driver. This might be a first as well for an amateur to win the overall LMP2s, and he did not make a mistake. He kept it on the track throughout, and whilst others were making mistakes, he kept it on. He also had fantastic pace. He was pretty much the fastest LMP2 as well. So that combo was absolutely irresistible. Anyway, Conrad, on his return to Apex Racing League, he manages to score a pro victory, albeit was beaten by 3 of the AMs, quite incredibly. And our last class leader is going to be Zoltan Bader with an overall podium, and he was miles clear of Ludovic Juret in the end. Had good pace as well in the second half of the race to Zoltan, and he finishes easily the GTP AM winner.
Yeah, I mean, what a race that was. I mean, it's almost, it feels a bit odd, it's in a way, as, oh, there we go, Richard Jep.
Oh,
bumper.
I'd be very interested to see what happened to Jep, Salipa and Maltrek on that last lap, because that was really looking tasty between those guys, and Jep has collided then. Ooh. Oh, he's lost it so early. Could we get an onboard of that one? That's insane. Because Jep could have overtaken 2 cars in that last lap. He was absolutely charging down Salipa. Maltrek was really struggling. But look how far to the left he gets. He gets on the puddle and aquaplanes into the wall.
That could have been worse if it was a little bit further to the left when he spun, but thankfully it wasn't. But you know, he still brings it home. I think, where did he finish? 7th overall. So I mean, to be honest, after the race that he's had, he's been up and down like a yo-yo for this last hour. So finishing 7th overall in class, you know, in class, sorry, not in class, 7th overall. I think he can hold his head high after that one, even with that last lap collision there.
yeah, I think, yeah, it's important for the drivers not to think too much what could have been. Mistakes are a natural thing when it comes to these conditions. Because yeah, so many of them will be thinking, oh, I could have won today. I could have maybe got a podium if I had cut out those errors. But everyone was making them, and it's just a natural part of racing in the wet. Northamptonshire winning in the GTP Pros ahead of Seagrow, Salipa, Jep, Faver, Turoski, and Laubscher. Those bottom two did not finish. Big disappointment for Turoski. I was wrong when I said he was going to finish on the podium. He was 13 laps away from the podium in the end. In the AMS, it was Beidou beating out Jurets, Melchirek, Leung, and Retzi. That was the top 5. In the LMP2 Pros, strangely, it was Andre, but of course these guys were behind the LMP2 AMS. Ibram, Hafler-Darson somehow in 3rd, despite him getting wiped out early on. Aston Wilby gets some points, I guess. He might still be championship leader. Figueroa with an awful day. Palo, what could have been for him? Remember, he was on pole. Chris, awful day for him. He won last time out. Graf, he was leading. Siegman, he was leading. What a mess of a race. And in the AMS, some of these guys did a phenomenal job. None more so than Lucas Diaz, who won by 12 seconds. Gazzetto and Krag Rolik did not take tyres. I don't know if that made any difference, but they kept close, but could not close in the gap that they had lost after the first half of the race. Williams had a quiet one in 4th, Mercer in 5th, Huygen in 6th, and Ooms 1 lap down. Credit to the AMS there, the NP2 AMS. They all finished, which was impressive considering the crashes that we saw. We will have a chat with one of our drivers. I'll let you have first dibs, Ashley, because I think we have Fabio Grassetto, who is ready to have an interview.
Lovely. Well, let's get him in here then. Hi Fabio. Well done for bringing the car home. First of all, I mean the conditions out there were, well, unsightly, shall we say? I mean, first of all, how overall, second, how are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, man, I totally unexpected this second place because my pace wasn't good in practice. My pace is not good on the wet, I think. But somehow during the race, I was keeping up with the guys. Sometimes I was maybe faster than some of them on lap times. And yeah, I spun also in lap 1. So at the end of the first lap, I was dead last. So yeah, P2 is, let's say, more than enough for me.
Certainly is, and yeah, very, very impressive P2 at that. I think for the majority of that race, you were sort of, bumper to bumper with your teammate Silas. Was that a bit of strategic play there, sort of working together potentially, or was it just a circumstance? You were just on the same part of the road at the same time.
No, it was just circumstance, I think, because yeah, there was no strategy during this race. Basically, we were just trying to keep the car on the black stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen definitely a few dozen of cars out there struggling to do so. I mean, obviously having your teammate there, did it maybe give you then a sense of reassurance knowing that no one behind you is going to absolutely try and send it?
Yeah. Also because sometimes I think he had the gap to send it and he didn't. For sure, having a teammate behind I don't know how to say it in English, but it's better. Okay. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you more of a bit of confidence that you're not going to have an incident. Exactly. Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying, Fabio. No worries. Well, I mean, congratulations once again on second place. Maybe weren't expecting that after lap 1, but managed to bring it home there in the end either way. Final thing, is there anyone out there that you'd like to thank this evening?
Yeah, the team, like always, the team really helps me taking the pace with me. So learning all the lines, especially in the wet. I don't have much experience because I always drove in iRacing, and rain is quite new to iRacing, so I really thank them for their help.
Lovely stuff. Well, thank you for joining us here, Fabio. Congratulations once again on second place. One final thing I'll quickly ask before you run away. How are you feeling about the race next week?
Yeah, it's Spa, I think. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
Sam can get that one for us and double check. But
It is Spa, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I love Spa. I mean, who doesn't love Spa? It's a great track, and for sure it will be fun. I hope there will be a sunny day, but we all know Spa. It can rain.
It certainly can in the Ardennes. Well, thank you very much, Fabio, and congratulations once again.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye. There we are, Fabio Grassetto.
Yes, our second place in the LMP2s overall today. Really came on strong as the race went on, as he described. I don't think we're going to have any more interviews with the drivers, so I think that will be pretty much it for us today. But of course, once again, thanks to RACEDATA AI. Do check out their website, a really great driver tuition app that you can get on your system. Works with iRacing as well as a few other sim racing platforms. So big thanks to RACEDATA AI for sponsoring this series. Actually, we've got Michael Harfler-Darson ready for a chat. Michael, welcome to the commentary interview section. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, are you happy now with, we finally got a wet race? But unfortunately, out of your own hands, it wasn't the race that you wanted.
I would like to thank the Apex admins for finally giving me a rain race. However, I would like a second one where a GTP does not kill me.
We can't guarantee anything, so we will see. I mean, by the rate that we've been going with these wet races, you will probably have to wait another 1.5 seasons for us to get another one. But talk us through. Well, of course, we saw the crash with early on in the race. Unfortunately, we didn't see the second crash. I believe you may have been involved in a crash with Turovsky, was it?
No, that was the only one.
Okay, fair enough. Well, how was it from that point onwards? How was it actually driving in these conditions, in this track? Like, is this a tough track, you think, in the wet?
I think it's a tough track in the wet. I mean, I quite enjoyed the rain, obviously, but I think I've saved too much in qualifying, and then, the GTP obviously ruined the race, kind of, but I think pace was still good. I don't know if I was the fastest on track, but I think I was, at least at some point. So, I mean, if we get another rain race, that's at least motivating.
Yeah, that will hopefully be the case before the end of the season. And then looking ahead to Spa next time out, a track that, of course, you've all got a lot of experience around. Are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, we've had good results at Spa. I think I was second. I don't remember if it was the prototype series or if it was the endurance series, but we've had good results before this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Spa.
Awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck for that one, Michael, because you're due some luck this season. It's certainly going to get a lot better, I'm sure, towards the end of the championship. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to all the guys over at Arkentech, just for being there, practicing and having fun. I mean, even though we're not getting the results we want right now, we're showing pace and we're having fun while doing it.
Awesome. Well, that's good to hear, Michael. We'll see you back next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Michael Harfler-Darson there with a late appearance in the interview waiting area. But that genuinely will be it for the interviews, I think, unless someone else pops up in the next 30 seconds. So, yes, of course, do make sure to check out the next round of the championship. Entries are still open as well for the championship, so if you're interested in signing up, you can do so over apexracingleague.com. You can also sign up to our ARA Sebring 2.4 hour event as well. As well as our GT3 trophy and our Porsche Cup series. So do check out all that and join the Apex Racing League Discord in the link in the description below. Of course, check out the Apex Racing League social medias as well, and Apex Racing TV. I'm sure there'll be a few clips of this race being posted up on there because it was a very action-packed one. So do make sure to keep an eye on all our social media, and of course subscribe to the channel and check out all of our broadcasts coming up over the next few days. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Ashley Denman, and from Samuli Kume, we will say goodbye, and we'll see you back in a week's time at Spa for round 4 of the season. See you then.